Hi, this is Signe Miranda from the Creative Leaders with artists, authors, and entrepreneurs, and I'm interviewing Michel Neray from Momondays. Welcome, Michel.
Hi.
First of all, I'd like to start off asking you a little bit about what you do.
Well, that could be a big question, but bottom line is I'm a professional speaker. I run a monthly show called Momondays, something I started in Toronto about 4 years ago now. We're in 12 cities across North America. I help people share their stories.
That's awesome, and that's actually how we met, and I've been going to Momondays. It's a really awesome and inspiring thing. And so because of that, I've asked you to come and present at the Song Creation Camp because you help people tell their stories, you help people connect with their audience. And can you tell us a little bit more about what you're going to do at the Song Creation Camp?
Sure. Well, a lot of musicians and songwriters, they pick a song and they write a song for a specific reason. And they assume that all they need to do is sing. And for a lot of us, that's actually the biggest part of it. But there's always a story behind the story. And how do you give the audience a little bit of an insight into that? So not so that you're giving it away, but that you engage them even more. I don't know about you, but when I go to a concert, I like to hear the artist share something about themselves, share stories about themselves. Give us some insight as to what was behind the song that they're about to sing or they just sang. And oh God, it's interestingly enough, I was at BB King's one of his restaurants, and where was it? Somewhere in Florida, Orlando, and he was there performing. And I swear he spoke at least as long as he played his music. But it was fascinating to hear all the stories that he had, and all the experience. It was just unbelievably riveting. So that's what I want to do at the Songwriter Camp. I think we all have such powerful stories. It's a way to engage the audience. It's a way to give them even more value than what we do through our music.
Absolutely, and I've learned a lot from you over the last few months about how to interact better with the audience and tell my story. And from speaking at Momondays, it's a very exciting thing to be able to share a story with the audience, and it helps them identify with the person on stage better. Some of my favorite performers have really fun stories that they tell between songs, and they're just as entertaining between the songs as they are during the songs.
Well, I think that's why people go to a concert instead of just listening to them, on iTunes or their CD or their whatever it is, right? Because you get a lot more of that human element in a live performance that you can't get in a recording.
Absolutely. And you've also started performing songs on stage, and you regularly go and perform. And how is that for you? Why did you decide to start doing that, and how has that informed you teaching people from stage how to communicate better?
Wow, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. It's funny because we just had a performance masterclass a couple of days ago, and this very issue came up. And so I talk a lot about the concept of cross-training. Now, cross-training, we're familiar with it when we work out. We don't want to, if we exercise one muscle only, the other one becomes weak or whatever. I talk about cross-training specifically in the context of stage presence. As a performer, we're not one-dimensional. Everything we do on stage strengthens every other thing we do on stage. So I started singing really because of my speaking career. I've been a professional speaker for the last 25 years. Don't date me. But I said, well, what can I do? Speaking is speaking, and that's good. And it's like you always need to become better in what you do specifically. But I said, what else can I do? So I started doing improv. I started doing stand-up comedy. I started going to karaoke. I started doing all of those things, and everything that I did, the more that I did on stage, in some other discipline, quote unquote, the stronger my speaking got. And what's interesting is that going to karaoke, I say, oh, I really like this. And then I started pursuing my singing more seriously. And now I go to live band karaoke, or I go to open mics, and I'm exploring my songwriting. What I find that everything that I do strengthens everything else that I do on stage. So, and for the people who are coming to the camp, it's kind of like the opposite, but it's really the same purpose. It's everything we do strengthens everything else we do. Being able to share my story. It's interesting. I don't know if I'm being, not, this is a non sequitur or not, but I can't tell you how many singer-songwriters, performers come to Momondays and they're scared out of their pants because they said, I've only ever sung on stage, I've never shared a story on stage. I'm thinking, oh my God, you're a pro. You've been on 100 stages before, thousands of stages before singing. They say, yeah, but I've never shared a personal story. So this to me was new. This is, and it just further emphasizes my point, is that we could be really great, comfortable on stage, just singing, just performing a song, but sharing a story and sharing a part of ourselves is a whole other ballgame that we really should, to become a well-rounded performer and to really own the stage when we're on it, to be able to stop and say, let me tell you about what's really behind this song, or let me tell you what sparked this idea for my song. And when we do that, and you've experienced this too, Signe, is that looking at your song in that context, saying, how am I going to share this on stage? What is the real point of this song? What is the emotion behind this that is driving me to write this song, helps me understand what I want to communicate through it better.
Absolutely. And I want to go into now, how did you figure out what you were passionate about, and then how did you turn that into a business? Did you find it a challenge to do that?
Yes, and it's a constant challenge, because every day we're faced with questions and decisions about, do I do this for the money or do I do this for the passion? And as much as I'd like to say, always follow your passion and the money will follow, well, we all have realities that we need to deal with. And what I have found is if you follow your passion at the exclusion of taking care of yourself financially, then you may run. Some people, there is no one formula that fits everybody. There is always the danger that you will then have to, you will become a slave to what, and having to do things just to be able to put food on the table is another kind of slavery. So there is no one formula, but what I can say is never lose sight of your dream. Never, ever lose sight of your passion. Always make sure that there's an outlet for it, whether it's a thing you do on the side or you're ready to jump in and do it full time. And that moment of when you're ready to do that differs for everybody. So how I did it kind of in tandem, little by little by little, and I was fortunate enough to know when to take advantage of a lucky break, when to say no, when to make mistakes and say, oh well, and just do it little by little, and I was very lucky. But a lot of the time, this Momondays thing that I started on a lark, really. And I was doing it for, when you think about it, for a very short period of time, when somebody else said to me, Michel, this is really cool, and I want to do this in another city. And I said, but if I do it in another city, then we're going to do it across, the world. And she said to me, Michel, this is great. I want to help you do it. And so that to me was a lucky break that I never would have anticipated in a million years. But I had the courage to say, this is it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the exciting things about Momondays, there's so many awesome things about it. One really cool thing is that you have speakers and you have performers, like songwriters, coming and playing songs in between. And sometimes those two things get combined, like when I was presenting there. And I think that there are so many correlations between songwriters and entrepreneurs. And I find that there's a good mix of artists and entrepreneurs at Momondays. So also at the songwriting workshops that I do, I find that entrepreneurs come out because bringing that creativity into their business, they might not want to be a professional songwriter, but they just have this song inside of them, they want to bring it out. And it's exciting to see that. And they might just write one song and it's like, okay, now I've done it. But it will inform their business, it will help them bring in more creativity. And can you tell us a little bit more about Momondays? And you've got it across Canada now, and you host the one in Toronto. So can you tell us a little bit more about the one coming up?
Oh God, the one coming up is really exciting. So as you know, we just celebrated our 4th year anniversary in Toronto, which is amazing.
Yes.
And we had a record crowd. We are now in, I have to double check, but I think we're in 14 cities, and we're starting to expand into the US, which is kind of cool. The one coming up is, what happens is, every time we do it, we just keep getting better and better and better. And, it's a continuous process, just like songwriting. Every time you do it, you learn something more. And before I go into next month, I just want to comment on what you said about we may just write one song, and that's cool. I truly believe that creativity is a muscle. And the more you work it in different ways, again, it's like training it, the more it helps you in other aspects of what you do in life. So I'm just saying I agree with you. But okay, back to next month. Next month we've got some really cool speakers and performers. As you know, we've got Chris Burkett, who just won, who was part of Buffy St. Marie's 2 Juno Awards, and he produced her album for her, so that's amazing.
And he's going to be at the Song Creation Camp.
And he's going to be at the Song Creation Camp, which is another thing about how one connection could lead you to another, because I met him through you. So thank you for that.
And I met you through him.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that cool? So you never know. And he's got an incredible story talking about following your passion. He's got a real rags to riches story of how he went from homeless to pumping gas at a petrol station in London to 100 million records. Pretty cool story. So he'll be performing and sharing that story as part of that. We also have someone else who is who is a master storytelling. Was the person who started storytelling in Toronto back in the 70s. We all talk about, that who's the grandfather of soul, the granddaddy of the blues, the empress of pop, the king of pop, right? We know who those people are. Well, in Toronto, we have got the grandfather of storytelling. And he started the Storytelling Festival in Toronto, I think back in the 70s. He won a community award for his work of how storytelling bridges cultures and groups within the community. And Dan Yashinsky, he's going to be speaking at Momondays Toronto this one, April 25th. So I'm very excited about that. We have somebody else who's hilarious. We've got somebody else who's got an incredible story of personal transformation and how he went from obese and depressed to incredibly fit and excited, and how he did it. So I want to know. And all of these things inform the other, right? So, whatever he did, however, whatever he discovered, and his magic, I can apply to my life. So, the comment that I get from Momondays is every speaker who gets up there gives me something to walk out the door with. And what's cool, I think of, and so again, this is there's such an alignment with songwriting and what I did with Momondays, because songwriting is all about taking what we have inside, believing that it's of value to other people, and putting it out there. But it comes from expressing who we are. Momondays, nothing like Momondays existed before Momondays, and it was only because I say, I love storytelling, I love personal transformation, I love stories of personal transformation, I love stand-up comedy, I want to laugh, but oh my God, I love networking events where we socialize with each other. But who would have thunk you could have bashed all those things together into one night? So, people share very intense personal stories, but I got to tell you, by the end of the night, this, we're all dancing and it's a huge party and we're laughing and it's the most fun thing in the world. Who would have thunk you could have done that, put it all together? But that's what we do. And I didn't think about it. I didn't strategize it. I didn't say strategically, these are the elements that we want to blend together. I just did it because it's who I am. And I put it out there and I found an audience. I didn't find an audience, they found me.
So I'd really like to thank you, Michel, for doing this interview, and I'll put the link for Momondays that's coming up on April 25th, and the Song Creation Camp is in August, the 12th to the 16th, and I'm really excited about both of those, and having my mentors, including you and Chris Burkett and several other people, come in to help people break through the things that have been holding them back from getting on stage, from doing their album, from touring. And I really appreciate that you took the time to share your insights with us. Thank you, Michel.
Well, I'm excited to be part of this. The location is amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michel.